It's huge. It's huge to keep the lead in our division, and anytime you can win road games, it's big. And I've always said if you can win your home games and split on the road, you'll be in the playoffs every year.
It's a good win. It's tough to win on the road, and obviously we didn't play our best, so we got to get back to work. We got a good little break here, use it, and then get back to work, see if we can get better.
One, although who knows what would have happened last night for that whack-ass taunting call on Avery. God, I hate taunting these
That was
penalties.
terrible.
But anyway.
That was terrible. Why did they do that? Just get out the way. Get out the way.
So I was just looking, power rankings, Mike, and I don't pay too much attention to power rankings. And Charles Robinson is back with us. It just was interesting to see just the variety and the diversity when it comes to, everybody's got the Bills in the top 1 or 2. Same with the Cardinals. Then it gets a little more interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe the Buccaneers at 3. PFT's got the Ravens at 4. SI's got the Chargers at 4. Those two teams meet this Sunday. Rams like a top 5 team. Charles, you and I talked about this on your podcast, like the NFC. You got the Packers, you got the Cowboys, you got the Rams, you got the Cardinals, you got the Bucks, So I was curious, who you saw right now. The only undefeated team is the Cardinals, who we'll talk specifically about the move they made in a second. Bills probably have the most impressive win, dare I say it, this season, beating the brakes off the Chiefs in Kansas City. I don't think I'm missing anybody there. I know how much you've talked about the Cowboys and their growth. So very broad question. But I'd like to know simply who you think the best team in the NFL is. And if it's the Bills, who's your best NFC team? Going back to the question you and I talked about the other night.
I do think it's the Bills because I think when you take the number 1 defense in DVOA, which is the most accurate measure of how successful a unit is, and then you run them into the number 1 offense in the NFL, the top DVOA offense, which was the Chiefs, and you watch the Bills just annihilate them defensively, push them around, turn Mahomes over, shut out Tyreek Hill, basically. I think Emmanuel Sanders has been a great addition to that offense. I think Josh Allen, I think the health is where it needs to be. I think they have the right role position players. I think they could get themselves even better at the deadline if they really wanted to. I think there are players that could probably still go out and acquire. So I think the Bills are probably the best team in the NFL when you consider where that defense is, where the quarterback is, and that they have really starring players. In terms of the NFC, you and I talked about it on UPod to win the game. Plug. Dallas. I think Dallas. I really like what Dallas has done defensively, the pieces, the guys that are really popping without DeMarcus Lawrence, who's a tremendous leader for that defense, being on the field for them. A lot of young guys contributing, starring Micah Parsons, Trevon Reed, and then offensively, they're running the ball. They got 2 backs who could potentially rush. Well, as long as they're healthy, could potentially rush for 1,000 yards this season. Skill positions are ridiculous. The tight ends are catching balls. Dak, by the way, is the top 5 quarterback right now. It's just we laughed about it on the show. The Cowboys are living up to the hype finally.
They really are. I'm gonna come back to that Chiefs point in a second, but Michael, same thing to you. I don't think we've talked about just best team right now. This week, who's your best team, and if it's not an NFC team, who's your best NFC team?
It's the same one. It's the same team as Charles Robinson. I got skills, and I won't choke like the Buffalo Bills. No, look, they are the top team in the AFC and in the NFL. I'm convinced of it. Now the NFC, I don't see a lot of people don't have a lot of love. As a matter of fact, Yahoo's got my Packers at 5, SI at 8, PFT at 6. I just feel like the Packers. Yeah. I like the Packers and Buccaneers for different reasons. They're 2 different kinds of teams, but my point is, I don't think either team has played his best football yet. And to your point, Charles. Deadline is November 2nd. I think trade deadline 4 p.m. November 2nd, right?
Yeah.
I think Jason Light is going to be on the phone. I think they're going to bring in more corners or more people in the secondary. Let's say secondary, versatile secondary pieces, and I think they'll be even better.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Packers.
Well,
I'm going to go Packers. So if you have to nail me down, Packers.
Yeah. Well, I agree. It's unanimous. It's the Bills. NFC. I told Charles the other night. So to be consistent, I think the Cowboys are the most impressive right now, given their total package and how close they were to knocking off the Bucks on opening night. Which I know there's no column for close, but nonetheless. But remember, Bucks are my Super Bowl pick, and I think they're gonna get better, like you said, Michael. But also, all they gotta do is get to the playoffs, and if they get there, I'm taking my chances with 12. But what I want to ask you about specifically, Charles, about the Chiefs and what the Bills did to the Chiefs, I'm wondering if, and listen, it's easier said than done, but I'm wondering what you've observed or what you talked to NFL personnel about when it comes to this trend, it seems like, this strategy of just, by some of the most aggressive defensive coordinators in the league, whether that's Wink Martindale, whether that's Todd Bowles, we saw it in the Super Bowl, and it's continued, and Buffalo did it with Leslie Frazier, of not blitzing, only rushing 4 or 3 as the case may be, but not coming after these quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes and playing this, this too high shell, or this cover 5, this man underneath coverage, and making them have to, wait for it, matriculate the ball down the field, fellas, and forcing them into mistakes. Like, this seems like the kryptonite to these quarterbacks. Are you seeing that? Are you hearing that too?
Well, go back to early in the season, the Chiefs. You saw teams kind of flood the zone in the secondary. I mean, they're trying to take, and I really truly believe they're keying on Tyreek Hill. I think teams are sitting there saying, if we remove Tyreek Hill, and we're going to basically challenge the Chiefs to run on us, we're going to take some damage via Travis Kelce. But they're going to have to find a third option to these two guys, and they're going to have to show us that they can actually run the football, like committed to it in a way that's going to damage us. And you've seen Patrick Mahomes in some of these games make mistakes of aggression. He's putting balls up in places at times that become turnovers because he's being aggressive, and at times trying to get Tyreek Hill involved in key situations. And I truly do believe that part of resolving this for the Chiefs is, I don't know if it's Marlon Mack, I don't know who it is. I think you have to figure out a running back that can be a very consistent cog in your team, and you can start to hurt teams that way and force them to adjust, because they're going to, as you said, they're going to come with limited pressure. They're not going to send 5-6 guys and know that they're going to get popped over the top. And expose a safety or leave somebody on an island who's going to get chewed up, either a linebacker on Kelce or even a nickel on Kelce, or God forbid a deep safety trying to track down Tyreek Hill. So, it'll be interesting to see. You go back to maybe why Todd Bowles probably should. It's too bad that you can't name a coach an MVP, in a Super Bowl, but that guy probably deserved it.
Give it to the unit. Yeah.
Charles, Mike just said a few minutes ago, if the Buccaneers make the playoffs, he's taking his chances with 12. And isn't it? I'm looking at Brady this year, and I know all the passing numbers are great. He had another interception last night, no big deal. Still way up there with yards, way up there with touchdown passes. Maybe it was just simple, and some people missed it when they're talking about the perceived decline of Tom Brady a few years ago. Then he just bounced back and continued to do what he's doing. It's been years since he had a receiver like Antonio Brown, not even his best receiver in Tampa.
Right.
It's been years since he had somebody like Antonio Brown on his side. Antonio Brown.
He might be his best receiver.
Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Gronk didn't even play last night. You got Brait. You talk about running backs. You got a couple running backs, including a former top 5 pick. Is it simple for Brady? Should the Patriots have done it? Hey, so give him what he wants and then just watch him cook?
Well, I think the Patriots did. They tried to bring in Antonio Brown, okay? And that Tom wanted, even after Antonio Brown, they had to get rid of him. Tom tried to get the Patriots to bring him back again, and it just wasn't going to happen, particularly after some of the things Antonio Brown said about Robert Kraft. But I think people have to understand, number one, when they are talking about Antonio Brown, guess who he is now? He's Tom's Julian Edelman. That's who he is. He's Tom's main man.
Yeah.
Like that is 100% the role that he fills in Tampa Bay. He trusts Antonio Brown. He looks for Antonio Brown. And if Gronk's not going to be in there, it's not because Mike Evans and Chris Godwin aren't sick individuals who can, be all pro level players on any given day. It's just because of that trust factor. And Tom really knows, like, hey, if I get into a pinch, this is the guy I'm going to. It's crazy that the guy he trusts the most might literally be the third most talented wide receiver in that group. And that's what's scary about this. I brought up, Dan Wessel and I got into this debate about Tom and should the Patriots have kept him. And Dan made a good point to me. He was like, look, man, look at what he's surrounded with there. Was Bill ever going to be able to do that? Were the Patriots ever going to be able
Bill said.
to surround him?
Belichick said we weren't the best option for him.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's talking about.
That's true. That's actually true. Like, I remember when Tom was going into that free agency, I talked to Peyton Manning about going through his Denver, like why he chose Denver and everything. And Peyton went through this whole thing, and I talked to Tom Condon too about the laundry list of things that Peyton sat down and was like, here are all the pieces I'm going to look at. Here's everything. I'm going to know that I'm going to put myself in the exact right situation. Tom did the same exact thing. And I remember one time Arians talking about Light, and he and Jason Light talking to Tom, and they were like, we didn't ask him anything. He asked us everything. And one of the first things he asked was, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, what kind of guys are they? Like, what kind of people are they? Like they were expecting, like, football questions or this or that. And Tom's thinking 3 levels deeper about what it takes to win a championship. And Arians, I remember, trotted this out once, sort of explaining, like, in his mind, he actually knows how to build a champion. He knows who's important in that locker room and whether you can count on him. Now, I know some people are listening to this and they're going, well, what about Antonio Brown? What kind of guy is he? Well, I can tell you this. He's been the quietest guy he's ever been since he's gotten to Tampa Bay with Tom, which is remarkable. And Tom definitely trusts him on the football field.
Yeah. Hey, couple more things I want to hit with you before we let you go. Both of them Eagles related. Charles, we had some fun. And this is Michael's favorite movie because he was in it. We had some fun on UPod to win the game the other night, or maybe it was yesterday when I was yelling at you about fantasy football. We were talking about the not effing around crew. Find me something that looks like a print and make it stick. Because this not effing around is about to go both ways, okay? So we're talking about the town. The Cardinals seem to be the not effing around crew, okay? Undefeated, and they lose Max Williams for the season. I love the Zach Ertz pickup. Now, I know he's not the Ertz from a couple of years ago, but it's not like this. It's not like Max Williams or the tight end position was some prominent or priority position, or at least it seemed like, in Cliff Kingsbury's offense. They were cooking with Max Williams kind of coming and going, seemed like. They go out and get a Ertz. I mean, that's the team we didn't talk about when we talked about the NFC teams, is the lone undefeated team in the NFL right now, the Arizona Cardinals. How big a pickup is this for Arizona in that offense?
Well, it's big because when you talk to teams that prepared for the Philadelphia Eagles, they still focused on Zach Ertz like he was a pretty important cog on the field, and they could afford to do that because the surrounding players, there's some good players, especially this year. You bring in the kid from Alabama, Devonta Smith. He's been great. But he's now going to a Cardinals squad. You got to get through 3 other guys before you even start thinking about Zach Ertz. Like, he's going to be probably the fourth most troublesome offensive piece, at least starting off there. And so I think the plethora of pieces that they have there, he's got a chance to single up, and they can use him probably in more mismatched situations than Philadelphia always could. And by the way,
Crazy.
Like, no offense to like Jalen Hurts or anything, but I mean, like, let's be honest, the kid playing quarterback in Arizona is pretty damn good. And I think he's going to be able to find a big, tall tight end. That'll be a very happy, nice addition for Kyler Murray.
Well, that's actually the last question I have for you. I said 2 Eagles-related questions, and no offense to Jalen Hurts. I want to talk to you about Jalen Hurts. I think he's accounted, or going into the game, he's accounted for 87% of the Eagles' offense. Nick Sirianni ran the ball, I think, 1 time in the first half and 9 times in the game, and the crowd at the link cheered when they ran the ball on third down. Like, I mean, is how much of it is, and I know it's only 10 starts, how much of this Jalen Hurts experiment is him not being the long-term answer, or the Eagles as an organization still being unsure about whether he's a long-term answer, versus Nick Sirianni is not putting him in positions to succeed yet? Like, what's the vibe you're getting from that organization about how they view Jalen Hurts and whether he's the guy, or is the head coach not the guy and doesn't know how to call plays yet?
I think they're still figuring out, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think Howie Roseman, the general manager there, is always going to keep his options open. Like, do I think he likes what Jalen Hurts brings to the table? Yeah. Do I think he knows for sure that the coach quarterback pairing is perfect? Well, no, because you don't honestly know for sure if the quarterback is what you think he can be. Like, you're running all this RPO stuff. There needs to be some more R in the RPO, and some more R that's not Jalen Hurts. And you look at the running back there, I think you got fans, in Sanders, you got fans cheering because he's ripped off some nice plays. Like, he's had some moments where you're like, maybe we should try running the ball a little more, make it a little more linear offense and actually hand it off a little bit more to this guy and see what can potentially develop here. It's Hurts, I think, is when he was at Alabama, I think there was always are we sure he's the guy? He gets beaten out. He goes to Oklahoma. He's fantastic at Oklahoma. But there were always questions about, is his arm good enough, to make window throws in the NFL? Do you have to design an offense that's going to be unconventional, and unconventional offenses can work for a while in the NFL, but eventually defenses adjust to it. Then can the quarterback adjust to the adjustments? That is it's like, I always call it the Jared Goff situation. Jared Goff was fantastic, and then defense is caught up to Sean McVay, and Sean McVay is like, okay, now we got to change, and we got to do this other thing. And Jared Goff couldn't keep up with that. And Sean McVay's like, I can't have a quarterback who can't change with me. We have to always change. Can Hurts do that? Because look, the RPO stuff isn't going to work consistently on the NFL level. It's just not. You can have wrinkles. That's great, but you can't run that all the time. Honestly, look at Arizona. You would think coming in, you'd be like, oh, Kyler Murray's going to be, he'd be an RPO quarterback. He's not really an RPO quarterback at all.
No.
Yeah. So, can Hurts do that? Can Hurts do what Kyler Murray can do?
Right. Cool. All right, brother, man. Hey, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. This was fun. And keep whipping up those votes, okay? Just, you know what I'm talking about. Keep whipping up those votes.
I do. We'll talk.
What's your record? Mike, what's your record?
Dang, man, that's
Dog,
What's your fantasy football record? 0-5.
Dog, I'm 0-5. Lowest
But you
scoring
know what?
team and the most points allowed.
Mike.
It's bad.
You know what?
Hey, Mike, like Urban says, though, hey, I'm usually not wrong about these things. There's some wins in there. We're getting better.
Hey,
Not
listen.
showing up, but we're getting better.
I feel like the Urban Meyer.
Lowest scoring and winless team, but fattest T-shirt budget in the league. So
Gotta have something going for me. All right, man. We'll see you next week.
all right, later, guys.